Trance is a genre of electronic dance music that developed during the 1990s in Germany. It is characterized by a tempo line between 125 and 150 beats per minute (BPM), repeating melodic phrases, and a musical form that distinctly builds tension and elements throughout a track, often culminating in 1 to 2 peaks or drops. Although trance is a genre of its own, it liberally incorporates influences from other musical styles such as techno, house, pop, chill out, classical music, tech house, ambient, and film music. A trance refers to a state of hypnotism and heightened consciousness. This is portrayed in trance music by the mixing of layers with distinctly foreshadowed build-up and release. A common characteristic of trance music is a mid-song climax followed by a soft breakdown disposing of beats and percussion entirely, leaving the melody and/or atmospherics to stand alone for an extended period before gradually building up again. Trance tracks are often lengthy to allow for such progression and commonly have sufficiently sparse opening and closing sections to facilitate mixing by DJs. Trance can be purely instrumental, although vocals are also a common feature. Typically they are performed by mezzo-soprano to soprano female soloists, often without verse/chorus structure. Structured vocal form in trance music forms a basis of the vocal trance subgenre, which has been described as grand, soaring, and operatic and ethereal female leads floating amongst the synths. The trance name may refer to an induced emotional feeling, high, euphoria, chills, or uplifting rush that listeners claim to experience, or it may indicate an actual trance-like state. The earliest forms of this music attempted to emulate in the 1990s before the genre's focus changed. Some trace trance's antecedents back to Klaus Schulze, a German experimental electronic music artist who concentrated in mixing minimalist music, repetitive rhythms and arpeggiated sounds, specifically his 1988 album N=Trance. In truth, it was really Sven Väth, his labels and others in the same group that saw the initial releases of trance. Another possible antecedent is Yuzo Koshiro and Motohiro Kawashima's electronic soundtracks for the Streets of Rage series of video games from 1991 to 1994, and the Wangan Midnight Maximum Tune series. It was promoted by the well-known UK club night Megatropolis, London, Heaven, Thursdays, whose scene catapulted it to international fame. Examples of early trance releases include but are not limited to German duo Jam and Spoon's 1992-12 single remix of the 1990 song The Age of Love, and German duo Dance 2 Trance's 1990 track We Came in Peace. One writer traces the roots of trance to Paul van Dyk's 1993 remix of Who Mates Love Stimulation. However, Van Dyk's trance origins can be traced further back to his work with Visions of Shiva, which were his first ever tracks to be released. In subsequent years, one genre, vocal trance, arose as a combination of progressive elements and pop music, and the development of another subgenre, epic trance, had some of its origins in classical music. With film music also being influential, trance was arguably at its commercial peak in the second part of 1990s and early 2000s. Classic trance employs a 4/4 time signature, a tempo of 125 to 150 BPM, and 32 beat phrases, and is somewhat faster than house music. A kick drum is usually placed on every downbeat, and a regular open hi-hat is often placed on the upbeat or every 1/8 th division of the bar. Extra percussive elements are usually added, and major transitions, builds or climaxes are often foreshadowed by lengthy snare rolls, a quick succession of snare drum hits that build in velocity, frequency, and volume towards the end of a measure or phrase. Rapid arpeggios and minor keys are common features of trance, the latter being almost universal. Trance tracks often use one central hook, or melody, which runs through almost the entire song, repeating at intervals anywhere between 2 beats and 32 bars. In addition to harmonies and motifs in different timbres from the central melody. Instruments are added or removed every 4, 8, 16, or 32 bars. In the section before the breakdown, The lead motif is often introduced in a sliced-up and simplified form, to give the audience a taste of what they will hear after the breakdown. Then later, the final climax is usually a culmination of the first part of the track mixed with the main melodic reprise. As is the case with many dance music tracks, trance tracks are usually built with sparser intros, mix-ins, and outros, mix-outs, in order to enable DJs to blend them together immediately. As trance is more melodic and harmonic than other electronic dance music, the construction of trance tracks in the proper way is particularly important in order to avoid dissonant or key clashing, that is, out of tune with one another, mixes. More recent forms of trance music incorporate other styles and elements of electronic music such as electro and progressive house into its production. It emphasizes harsher bass lines and drum beats which decrease the importance of offbeats and focus primarily on a 4-on-the-floor stylistic house drum pattern. The BPM of more recent styles tends to be on par with house music at 120-135 beats per minute. However, unlike house music, recent forms of trance stay true to their melodic breakdowns and longer transitions.